The first question you're going to ask is, how in the heck did I get aboard the EM Ford? It started on a bitter, cold, snowy December 16th, 1985, when the ST Crapo came up the Saginaw River to unload at Huron Cement's 6th Street dock. It was my first day home from college on Christmas break, and so I met her there to take some pictures. I struck up a conversation with Captain Don Gaeta, who was acting as first mate, and he invited me aboard to take some photos for modeling the boat. Of course, he asked me if I did models for sale, and we rapidly made a deal that I'd build him a John W. Boardman. During the pre-dawn hours of June 21st, 1986, the EM Ford came up the Saginaw River for 6th Street once again. I was aboard at 5:30 that morning and delivered Captain Gaeta's model boat, much to his delight. He then gave me free rein to tour the EM Ford with my camera and take photos. Now please know that most of these images are perspective shots for future modeling of the vessel, and were taken in a hurry and with a great effort to stay out of the way of the crew. So the pictures are not my best. By 1986, the Ford had gone through a half-dozen major reconstructions, each adding something to her original 1897 configuration. The results being that on her stern and her bow, the cabins were simply stacked upon one another. This was especially evident on the bow, where her old and new cabins took on a zigzag arrangement. Fortunately for modeling purposes, this was pretty much impossible to see from the outside, with the exception of some half stairs leading to the observation deck. However, if you're trying to exit the pilot house, the deckhouse maze became quite apparent, because it was turn, duck, and hold onto the handrail all the way down the companionway. Speaking of the pilot house, here it is with the morning sun blazing through the windows and blacking out my photo. So, here's a better image courtesy of the Huron Cement Company from my personal collection. It was said that the boat kept her original wooden ship's wheel from 1897, but so far I haven't been able to document that. Here it is again. The sign says, "Hands off the wheel," because with steam up, a bump of that wheel will cause the steering equipment and the rudder to move, and there could be one of the engineers in there working. It's not uncommon for visitors to mess with the wheel. Here we see the boat's chart room. At least now the morning sun is working in the favor of my camera. Stepping outside, the view from that height is similar to being on a 1,000-footer, except there's 650 feet less boat aft. Meanwhile, down on the spar deck, we can see the pneumatic unloading hoses sending the boat's powdered cement cargo ashore. Yep, that's it. Just 2 hoses and a lot of suction. The Ford could carry 7,300 tons of cargo, and this method unloaded her at a rate of 600 tons per hour. She was normally in and out of Carlton, Michigan in about 12 hours. Before heading aft, I sat with the boat's chief engineer, who related to me a lot of what you're hearing me tell you now. In this shot, we see the Ford's steam whistle blowing. That was a test. You see, on the way into Carlton, the Ford blew her whistle to signal the Zilwaukee Bridge to open. To everyone's unpleasant surprise, the whistle stuck and began continuously blowing, thus falsely giving the danger signal. Realizing what had happened, the pilot house crew got in radio contact, and the information was passed on to the bridge tender before he fled the control house. Fading back into black and white, we can see an easily overlooked feature that is left over from the Ford's original 1897 construction. Here we see her hatches up close. Looking more closely, we can see some interesting things. Check out how low the hatch combings were back in the 1890s. Atop each hatch is a series of 5 round hatches known as scuttles. Through those, her powdered cement cargo is loaded, and during her conversion from an ore carrier to a cement carrier, the braces for securing her hatch tarps and their strongbacks were cut off right here with a torch, but you can still see their footings. Now let's slide astern. Here we can see where the line between her original hull and the later additions is clear. A riveted hull versus a welded hull. That white upper cabin contained the most important areas for any lake boat. The crew's dining room and the officer's dining room. Directly above the galley was the boat deck roof, and there I found the emergency steering equipment. This is here in case something should happen where the pilot house crew cannot command the rudder. There have actually been cases where the pilot house was either washed out or the lines to the steering equipment have been damaged, and crews have had to use this sort of emergency equipment. Additionally, there is this manual steering rig that can be used to wrench the rudder. Oddly, the lifeboats are not located on their namesake boat deck, but they are one deck below on the poop deck. Moving from the top down to the bottom, let's visit the tunnel. It ran the length of the cargo hold. The tunnel was 7 feet wide and 8 feet in overall height. Cement cargo resided in these hopper holds. It was moved by way of trap doors that opened to the air slides. Those in turn allowed the cement powder to drop into the augers that pushed it forward to the unloading pipes. The tunnel also gave the crew access to the unloading augers and air slides. Plus it allowed for monitoring and servicing of the unloading. That included freeing up the clumps of powdered cement, which was done in a highly advanced and technical method. Here we see a crewman in the tunnel. Notice the padded hammer. The key was knowing where to bang the hammer on the hull. Here, here, and here, and here, plus here, and here, 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 and here. Unfortunately, the engine crew were working on the boat's quadruple expansion steam engine when I was there, and I really wanted to stay out of the way. So I didn't get any good pictures of it. But I did get a good shot of its original 1897 control panel, which was still in working order. But just a short distance away was the modern control panel from 1980. The old steam guys in the engine room said that their tastes prefer the original panel. I agreed. Then, of course, there was this photo that just says that this place is home for her engine crew. As I was leaving, there was one more thing that caught my eye and says it all.